All right, welcome to the show today. Well, I'll get right to it. I don't know if anybody does, but they should definitely check it out. Every week on Comic Watch, we do what we have. It's a crowdfunding corner, and we look at projects, a lot mainly from Kickstarter, and this one was brought to my attention through the crowdfunding platform of Zoop, and and I forgot. To ask her how she pronounces her name, so I'm going to screw it up. But the book that we'll be talking about today is 5,500 Miles of Comics, and it's a humorous and heartfelt comics journal, which chronicles. Is it? I'm just going to go ahead and bring. See, this is. I'm just going to go ahead and bring her in. Hi,
Hi,
how's it going? So again, I'm sorry. How do you say your name?
Betje.
Okay. I
Betje
whatever I
Ton.
said would have been totally wrong. But so
Okay.
but thank you for joining us today. And you know, uh, before we get talking about your book, tell us a little bit about your history with comics or cartoons or cartooning, whatever you like that.
Well, it's funny. I'm pretty late to making comics. For a very long time, I thought that comics were always pages with panels and word balloons and superheroes and that sort of thing. I think it's only almost 7 or 8 years ago that I lived in LA at the time, and I went to the library and I stumbled upon the graphic novel section, and there were all these autobiographical uh, graphic novels by American cartoonists like Vanessa Davis and Ellen Forney, Lucy Knisley, and I just fell in love with the medium, and that's when I started to make comics myself.
And when did you start? What do you have any influences for your drawing or your just I know your writing is more slice of life, but uh are there any writers that kind of influence the way you put everything
Yeah,
down on the page?
I think one of the first books that I got my hands on was by Vanessa Davis. It was it looked very much like a sketchbook that she just poured her heart and her soul into. It didn't look like a comic strip at all to me. It was very raw and unedited, and I like that very much about her work. I love everything that Lucy Knisley does. It's much cleaner, but also um, just very, how to say that, relatable. And then I love all the things that are experiences from other people that are not relatable and that I can learn from. Like, for instance, Jeffrey Brown is a guy who draws about his own life, and um, I just, I'm just very curious about other people. I find them fascinating, and yeah, that's what inspires me.
And so let's talk about the book itself. What is 55,000 miles of comics? And I mean, I think I know where the title may have come from, but I'll let you tell your story.
Okay, yeah, it's called that way for two reasons. One is that between 2017 and 2022, I made roughly 1,700 pages of comics. I drew pretty much every single day, and that's a whole lot of comics, so miles and miles of comics. But also during that time that I was drawing daily, I moved from Los Angeles back to the Netherlands, and the distance between Los Angeles and Amsterdam is about 5,500 miles.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought. Where the title came from, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, oh, you're right. Yeah.
So how would you, in your own words, summarize what the book is? What the cartoons in the book are about.
Well, what it shows is a few things. It's just the daily stuff that every family will find relatable. Just the things that my kids did, what their family did, the vacations that we went on. It also talks about what it's like to be an expat in Los Angeles,
Hmm.
uh, cultural differences, and then there's the artistic part where I show how my work evolved from. I started out in sketchbooks, and then I I got better at drawing, and then I switched to an iPad, and I really wanted to show the whole evolution of my drawing style in this book, and that's why I waited until I had so many pages. The book is more than 250 pages, and I purposely left in the older ones that are, when I look at them, I'm thinking, oh, I would draw this differently now, but I really like to show how I grew artistically as well.
And so, yeah, I mean, as I was looking at the preview, I have a 6.5 year old son, and so I was like, uh, I was relating to what you were drawing. Do your kids know that they're part of your cartoons?
Yeah, yeah, they know. And even sometimes they're saying, "Oh, mom, are you going to draw a cartoon about this?" When they
Yeah.
think they're very funny. Yeah, they have not complained yet.
Now now is there some was there an instances where maybe you thought, hey, this will make a great addition to the book or a cartoon, but it's a little too personal, or something like that. Has that ever come up?
Yes, especially now that the kids are growing older. It's interesting that when kids are, 1 or 2 years old, you can pretty much draw about anything, including stuff like potty training. But once they're 12 or 13, things are easily too personal. And if I'm not sure, I will always ask my children if it's okay to draw about it. Yeah, but it's becoming increasingly harder to make comics about our family because of their age, and their friends all have phones and social media, and I don't want to embarrass them.
Understandable. Now, you did this project during the pandemic, is that correct?
Yes.
Is there a section kind of devoted to all the fun times that everybody had during that time?
Well, it's not like, oh, here's the chapter COVID.
Mhm.
It's weaved into all the other stuff that's happening. And so you can see how very early on in the pandemic, I mentioned it once because my son had a cold, and but COVID wasn't in the US yet. And I'm talking about how I'm not worried, but I am becoming increasingly aware of our vulnerability as humans. And then later, of course, COVID comes to Los Angeles, and then I'm talking about going outdoors with a face mask for the first time and how uncomfortable that feels. And we were moving also in 2020 during that same time, so we had planned a lot of things for our goodbye party that we couldn't do, and so I drew about all of that. But
Mhm.
then, I mean, life goes on also. So at the same time, I'm also drawing about the funny stuff that my kids do, homeschooling, of course. It all, yeah, goes together.
So, do you have of the collection, this the cartoons in this collection? Do you have one that's like a particularly a favorite of yours, or one that you kind of of a moment that kind of was so you want to remember, and you're glad that you kind of memorialized it?
What I like most about what I did is that I have that years and years of comics. Um, that's my favorite part about this whole project. But if I need to pick one comic, there was this instance when um, that was during COVID. I was homeschooling my youngest, and school had this live stream with a teacher, and I just couldn't hear what she was singing, and it sounded like Dudley's dick shakes while he's dancing. And I was like, okay, it makes sense. if he's naked. But then this is a really weird song for a 4-year-old. Like, what is going on here? And I really could, and I had to re-listen a couple of times until I finally heard it right. And it was Dudley digs shapes while he's dancing. And it doesn't really make sense as a sentence, but
Yeah.
yeah. And I made a comic about that, and I think it's one of my favorites.
So, there's a lot of different crowdfunding platforms out there. Uh, what was it about Zoop that you know led you to go with them?
I think one of the main reasons was that they do fulfillment as well,
Hmm.
and yeah, I just want to draw, and the idea of having all the boxes delivered at home and having to ship all of them was not very appealing to me. That was one thing, and the other was once I had reached out to them, um, we started talking, and it just kind of went naturally. They're just very kind, and they took me by the hand with all the steps that were hard or difficult decisions, like what exactly am I going to offer, at what price, all the things. They help you out, and that was a very nice, uh,
Hmm.
nice thing of them.
So, what is this the first crowdfunding
Yes,
you've done?
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And how's your experience? I mean, you've talked about, they're doing the fulfillment part. How's your experience been so far, and how do you feel that it's been received?
Ah, that's different. I mean, it's all the things at the same time because on one hand, it's going very well. We hit 50% in the first 48 hours. We're now over 60%, only a week in. So I think I should be very happy, but I'm still incredibly nervous and checking it
Hmm.
all the time. And I keep thinking, what if that was the last pledge? It's just very stressful.
Hmm. Well, it seems to be, doing well, and um, you know, I've tried, when I do my thing for for Comic Watch, I track kind of how they're doing, and yours has been doing great compared
Oh,
to,
I'm so glad to hear that. I keep wondering what is normal. I have no idea because it's so weird that you launch and then all the pledges come in and then all of a sudden it's like, where did everybody go? Is that with every crowdfunding campaign?
Yeah, I've never done one myself because I can't draw, with or write. But from what my friends that have done it, I think you have that initial spike and then it kind of dips, and then as you get closer to the end, it picks up again. But
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, that's all new to me.
so, um, what else have you been working on any other projects or similar things to this book?
Well, I do client work. I draw for a comic magazine here in the Netherlands. It's for teenagers. I draw 2-page stories for them. I write and I draw.
Hmm.
And then I do live cartooning sessions. So I sit with a conference and I make comics or cartoons, I should say. They're one panel cartoons about what is being discussed in the conference. And then I'm also working on a graphic memoir
Oh,
that
nice.
has to wait right now because of this crowdfunding and all the other stuff that's going on.
And can you speak to what uh, you know people who pledged can get through through the crowdfunding?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. What
Uh,
the rewards are?
can, yeah, yes, the rewards for backing for your for backing your project.
Yes. So there is a digital copy. There is a soft cover, a signed soft cover, one with a sketch. You can get your portrait drawn in my style. I have a bunch of greeting cards and cards with comic designs. There's a 50% discount on a paid Substack. Sorry, Substack subscription. Another tongue twister. Yeah. I think that's about it for now. Although we are brainstorming some other perks, maybe.
Oh, like stretch goals. Once once because you're going to reach that funding. I know you are.
I'm going to.
Yeah, you're going to. I just know that. But so it'll be interesting to see what stretch goals you guys come up with.
Yeah, I think there is something on the site. I haven't dared to think about going over my goal. Actually, I'm just
Well,
trying
yeah,
to focus on the finish
get
line.
to the goal first.
Yes.
So, is there, maybe something about the, project that maybe we haven't talked about that wanted to make sure that people know about, so they'd be willing to, or at least check it out, and more than hopefully, you know, back your project.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we talked about it's for anyone who has children in their lives and who people who were alive around 2020 and know what happened around that time, they will be able to relate. I think it's a good one for artists who are considering doing keeping a daily drawing practice to
Mhm.
see like what are the things you could draw about if you want to draw every single day. Um, I think it will be fun for anyone who lives in the California area because it's also kind of a love letter to Los Angeles. Or
Mhm.
maybe I'm reading that into it now because I miss it. Yeah.
So do you miss being here in the States, or I mean, how's uh, you know, I've never been outside of the U.S. Well,
Okay.
Canada, Canada doesn't count.
Oh, I think it's very different. No?
I,
Um, yeah, I miss Los Angeles. I miss the people there.
mm,
Yeah.
understandable. So, where can, if you want to give one more pitch for the campaign, and then maybe where people can find you on, like, I know you mentioned a Substack, and are you on social media or anything like that?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, but I'm really focusing on Substack. I like that more. I can show a little bit more of myself on Substack. Um, yeah, I don't really have a pitch.
That's fine. I mean, I think we've talked about it enough that people will have a great idea what it is, and definitely where they can check it out on Zoop. I mean, it's if you go to the Zoop website, then it's on there. It scrolls by since it's one of the active campaigns.
Yes.
There are, let me see, 23 days left, and it looks like you're sitting at we'll call it 5,100 out of 8,000. So getting
Yes.
there. You're,
Getting done.
but I want to thank you for taking the time to chat today, and maybe, hopefully, when you do finish that autobiographical work and it gets out, then I'd love to have you back, and we can talk about that and how
Oh, great.
how the two compare and contrast.
Yes. Yeah, it's very different, very different. Even though it discusses, there's overlap in time, but it's very different. Yeah, that would be great. It was nice meeting you.
All right, well, everybody, be sure to check out the campaign. It's on Zoop. You can check out updates on Saturday on Comic Watch in our crowdfunding corner, which posts at noon. And you can check out that 5,500 miles of comics and some other great projects from Zoop, and some from Kickstarter. So please check it out and help us spread the word. And
Thank you.
we'll catch you on the next show.